Good morning, grade 12s. Today's lesson is all about free trade. I want you just to look at your exam guideline. Again, it says briefly explain the following arguments in favor of free trade: specialization, economies of scale, choices and increased welfare, innovations, best practice, and improved international relations. So this is literally briefly explain. So it'll be for discuss for 8 questions or additional parts to the essay. That activity that I sent you this morning, obviously the additional part is all about free trade, the arguments in favor of free trade. So you will use this as your additional part. Okay, just remember not heading discuss, full sentence discussions, no listing. Right, in the textbook, I think it is page 105. Okay, page 105 in the textbook. So we're just quickly going to do this lesson. It's not a long lesson at all. All right, so when we talk about free trade means that different countries can trade with one another without any restrictions. There's no trade barriers, there's no restriction on trade between different countries. The supporters of free trade, like the World Trade Organization, they argue that it is only under conditions of free trade that countries can specialize in the production of goods that they have that comparative advantage in, and then exchange those goods for goods that other countries have an advantage in. All right, so we saw that last year when we did globalization, that developed countries tend to benefit more from international trade than developing countries. And some of the supporters of free trade are now arguing to say that all countries can benefit from free trade, because if every single country is allowed to specialize in the production of those products where they have a comparative advantage in, and then they do the mass production of those products, they will export all of the surpluses that are being produced, and then they will be able to import whatever products they don't have without restriction. So in other words, free trade means there's no customs duty, there's no quota, there's no sanctions, no restrictions on trade whatsoever. So countries can really focus on the production of those things that they have a comparative advantage in, that their workers are really good at, that they have the raw materials for, and they don't have to worry about producing other things, because they can simply import those other things from other countries which then will be better in the production of those other things, without being punished for it. And then the idea is that economic welfare for everybody will increase. Everybody can have access to everything that is produced all around the world, because countries will be able to import and export without restriction. Okay, that's the ideology. Right. Now, if we look at the arguments in favor of free trade, the good things about free trade, first one is economies of scale. Now, we said that when you are producing for the world markets, your market is so much bigger. All right. So when there's world trade, when you're not just producing for local production or local consumption, you are literally producing for the whole wide world. It means that your market is so much bigger. And because you have a big market, you can do mass production. All right. And then as I explained the other day, when we do mass production, then we use our fixed costs better. It's more efficient. Whatever we have invested in machinery and equipment and technology or whatever, instead of using a machine to produce 200 articles, we can use that same machine and we can produce 2 million articles. All right. So instead of selling 100 articles, and that 100 articles, the price is going to be high enough to pay for this machine, if we can produce 2 million articles, 2 million articles, we can sell at lower prices to pay for this machine. All right. So this is only obviously applicable to fixed costs, machinery, equipment, those kind of things. Obviously, your raw materials, your variable costs will increase as you produce more. Okay. But because your fixed cost, your average fixed cost gets less as we produce more and more and more, the average cost of production is going to decrease. And because production costs are cheaper, prices are also going to go cheaper, and that will benefit your consumers as well. The second advantage is specialization and efficiency. All right, as I said, the whole idea is that countries will specialize in the production of those things that they have an advantage in, without having to worry about being punished for importing other things. So when we are producing for the international market, we want to produce as much as possible. We can do mass production. We can produce 2 million of something because the market is so much bigger. And as I just explained, obviously the production cost, your average cost of production, your production cost per unit, per article, is going to decrease because you are using your fixed capital more efficiently. All right. Now, because businesses still want to make a profit, it is going to encourage them to be more efficient. Remember, you will specialize in the production of those things you have an advantage in, those things that you are really good at, those things that you can produce at a very low cost, those things that you have that you can produce high quality of. So because businesses want to make profit, they would want some kind of an advantage in some kind of a product. That is going to encourage them to not waste their resources and to always be finding new production methods. Because once you have this advantage, you would like to keep this advantage. You don't want to stagnate and not improve what you are doing when others are improving what they are doing. That is going to decrease your competitiveness in the markets. All right. So you're going to want to reduce your waste. You're going to use your resources, and resources are scarce, but you're going to use these resources more efficiently. You're going to be careful with the resources that you do use, and you're going to find a production method that is going to enable you to decrease your cost so that you can gain that comparative advantage. Once you have that comparative advantage and you concentrate on the production of those products that you have this comparative advantage in, you are going to then specialize in the production of these products that you have this advantage in. And when you specialize in something, it means that you are now concentrating all of your attention on producing this one product. You are not now splitting your attention and splitting your focus between 20 different things that you now have to produce. You are doing only one thing. All right. You can think for yourself with subjects. Now, when your teachers are teaching you subjects, if I had to teach you all of your subjects, now Afrikaans and English and maths, yeah, good luck with that one, and science and biology and everything, I would know a little bit about many different subjects. But instead of that, we specialize. Now we get Afrikaans teachers that specialize in Afrikaans. That means that they become an expert in that subject. Me, I've specialized in economics. So I've become an expert in economics. Now when you do the same thing over and over and over, day in and day out, you become really good at what you are doing. All right. Your materials are used effectively so that you can achieve higher levels of output. Because now, obviously, if you are specializing, you want to produce really lots and lots of that particular article so that you can sell it all around the world. All right. And as I explained earlier, when we use mass production, that is going to lead to a lower average cost, which means you become more competitive. Other countries cannot compete with you. Everybody starts buying from you, very profitable for you. And money comes into the country as well. And then whatever we are not able to produce ourselves, we are able then to buy from other countries without having restrictions. It also leads to a freedom of choice and increased welfare. Now, the big argument is that when we use tariffs and quotas, we are reducing the quantity and the variety of goods available to consumers. Okay, because one thing that's going to happen if we constantly add customs duties on products that's coming in, let's say from China, to force people to buy the local products. Now we don't want them to buy the Chinese thing, so we put a customs duty on there. But if we're continuously doing this, eventually China is going to not sell stuff here anymore because their sales are decreasing. It's not worth their while. And that is going to reduce the choices that are available to the consumers. Because now we are adding a tariff or we're bringing in a quota and we're only allowing a certain amount of things into this country, we are not giving our consumers the right to choose what they want to buy. Okay, we are making these imported goods look more expensive to try and force them to buy the local goods. And as I said, other countries are going to stop trying to sell stuff here because nobody's buying it because the taxes are making it too expensive. And that is going to reduce choices of consumers. And remember, when we have more choices, that increases the living standards. Now, people like to have choices. All right. And if we have a choice between South African goods and American goods and Chinese goods and Australian goods and whatever, obviously we are giving consumers a wide variety of things to choose from. We're increasing their range of choices, and then obviously that is going to increase their standards of living. So when there's free trade, we can allow consumers without restriction. They have a choice. Whatever they want to buy from wherever in the world they want to buy from, they are not limited to what is available in South Africa that was produced by our local producers only. Okay, they have much more choices. They can literally buy anything they want from anywhere in the world, so the amount of choices is so much higher, and that is going to increase their welfare. People like to have choices, right? You know, right at this stage, you don't have any choices. You're stuck there at your house, you don't have any choice in anything that you do. It's not nice. It reduces our standards of living if we don't feel that we have the freedom to choose. It also does lead to improved international relations, because when countries use trade barriers, it normally results in retaliation. All right, I asked you the other day, if I wasn't your teacher and I smacked you through the face, right, hard, what are you going to do in return? You are going to smack me back even harder. All right, so when we smack another country with a customs duty, if we say to China, right, we are going to put a customs duty on everything that you try and sell here, what are they going to do? Everything that we sell in China, they're also going to put a customs duty on. So we tax them, so they tax us. And then nobody wins. It's a lose-lose situation, because then in our country, our people are paying higher prices. In China, those people are paying higher prices, and that is unnecessary. All right, we don't want retaliation. It is important that there's good relations between different countries. Okay, we don't want to force our consumers to pay higher prices. All right, so if there's poor relations, obviously, between countries in times of need, like now, okay, right now we have the coronavirus problem, and we have good relations with other countries. China has sent us stuff, medical testing kits and whatever. America is giving us money and stuff. Now we've got good relations with these countries. If we didn't have good relations with these countries, they would not help us out in times of need, when we need financial assistance or assistance of any kind of sort. All right. So it's very important that we have good relations. So free trade obviously increases. It's conducive to good trade relations, because if we don't tax them, they won't tax us, and then there's a good relationship between the countries, and consumers have the choice of whatever they want to buy from wherever. Right, then we can also implement best practice. All right, there's something called international best practice. International best practice is basically, through years and years of trying different strategies, internationally, what has been found to be the best way to do things. All right. Now, with free trade, as a result of competition on international markets, companies are forced to implement the best production methods, the newest technology, the best management systems, because remember, for companies to survive on the international market, if they have to compete with all the other businesses on the international markets, they need to get better at what they do. They need to produce good quality products. They need to get their costs down. And the only way that they can do that is by changing their production methods, improving their production methods, implementing the latest technology that improves productivity, that improves the quality, and it will bring the costs down. So that means that consumers worldwide, around the world, will have access to better quality goods and at reasonable prices. The last one is innovation. All right, now free trade implies competition. There's no protection anymore. Anybody can enter any market with any product that they wish to sell, and the more people there are in a particular industry, the more competition there's going to be in that industry. So when there's free trade, there's more competition. It encourages competition. And obviously everybody wants to make a profit. Everybody wants to maximize their profit. Everybody wants to capture the largest market share. And in order to do this, you need to come up with an idea. Okay, if you want to enter an industry, you want to start a business, you need to have a business idea first. All right, and that leads to innovation. when there's a lack of free trade, sometimes your domestic markets are being dominated by a few enterprises who avoids competition. You'll see next week we're going to start with microeconomics, and we're going to talk about these things. Then monopolies and the oligopolies, where they collude with each other and the big firms kind of control what is happening on the market. There isn't really free competition. And competition is the thing that is going to bring the prices down and improve the quality. So when we want free trade, because it is going to lead to higher competition, more competition is always better. All right. It is in cases where there's a monopoly, where there's only one competitor, that the consumers suffer. Quality can be bad, prices are going to be high because we don't have any say, we don't have other options. In terms of oligopolies, where there's a few large sellers, obviously the few large sellers can work together, even though it's illegal, but it happens. They work together, they manipulate the prices, and again, the consumer is going to suffer. But when we do free trade, obviously the levels of competition will increase, and everybody will want to come up with something that they can sell that is different or better than what is available on the market, so that they can make a profit. All right, so this leads to many new goods and services that are made available on the market. There's a lot of things that makes your lives a lot easier that would not exist if it wasn't for innovation. If somebody somewhere didn't think, what if? You would not have a cell phone. We would not have microwave ovens. We would not have television. We would not have any of those technological things, because those things came through innovation. Somebody somewhere said, okay, how can I make money? What product can I come up with that I can sell to make money? All right, so there's lots of new products that comes onto the market that is better than what we are used to. Okay, and then also because competition is tough and the businesses need to decrease their costs, obviously they're going to try and find production methods that is better, that is more efficient, that could decrease their costs and improve the quality of their goods. All right, now the next heading in your textbook, I'm going to give you the page number now. Remember, on your exam guideline, it says we only need to briefly discuss the arguments in favor of free trade. Nowhere on your exam guideline does it say anything about arguments against free trade. So on page 107 in your textbook, starting on page 107, there where it says arguments against free trade, you are going to scratch this out. I'm not going to teach it. You don't have to study it because it's not in your exam guideline. It was in the previous exam guideline when this was also still an essay question. Remember, it is no longer an essay question. It will be for 8 marks or a 10-mark additional part to your essay, but you do not need to know the arguments against free trade. Okay, we're not going to study stuff unnecessarily. Only reason I left it in the textbook is because obviously the exam guideline was supposed to change this year. It didn't, but it is changing for next year. So if I take it out now and they put it back, then I have to retype it. Okay, so blame it on my laziness, but you are now going to scratch out. Now, from where it says arguments against free trade, you are scratching everything up to there. All right, so all your headings, all the headings from where it says arguments against free trade, A, the concentration of wealth, you scratch out. B, the outsourcing of domestic labor, out. Creation of trade dependencies, out. D, undermining cultural diversity, out. And the last one, E, environmental safety, labor regulations are undermined, out. All right, so this is a very short section, and this is then the end of the lesson as well. Enjoy your weekend after you have finished your activities.